Now I see I have all of your attention. It's a bit challenging, but that's okay. That's what I wanted. You might think that this is just a whistle, but no, this is magic whistle. This is non-verbal communication tool for us. And when I say us, I mean the free people of Free Georgia suffering under authoritarian regime of Ivanishvili. What you just heard is a whistle, is the sound of protest echoing through the streets of Tbilisi from more than 8 months now. It is the sound of young people, students, writers, journalists, actors, parents, veterans, activists, and survivors of Russian occupation, standing shoulder to shoulder. This is how we resist, this is how we protest, this is how we speak, when all other speech is being silenced. We, the free people of Free Georgia, have been protesting continuously for 192 days. We block the main avenue of the capital every evening and during the day when we see each other in the different part of the city carrying this or that kind of whistles. We know that this is us, the free people of Free Georgia, suffering under Ivanishvili's regime. Violence, poverty, and propaganda are the communication tools of the Ivanishvili regime. More than 500 people were detained during the active phase of protest. Every detainee was subjected to a different form of violence. Over 80 individuals were hospitalized with fractures and head injuries. One 21-year-old spent a week in coma with damage in his eye and skull. These are communication tools of Ivanishvili's regime. Attention now, please. Take your phones, turn on your cameras. Yes, please do it. And scan this QR code. So, by your face, I can see that you scanned it. These are the faces of people identified by few independent media outlets still surviving in Georgia. All of them were beaten after police of regime arrested them. Do you think Ivanishvili's regime recognized them as victims? No. Some of them were fined, others detained. These are the Ivanishvili regime's communication tools against the free people of Georgia. Despite of violence and cruelty, despite New Year, a major family holiday in Georgia, and even through Christmas and Easter, the country's most secure religious celebrations, the protest continues. Ivanishvili's regime needed tool of suppress the resistance, so they increased administrative fines up to 5,000 girls or up to 60 days detention. With this tool, the regime has already imposed over 2.5 million lari fines. That's almost $1 million US. These are the communication tools of Ivanishvili regime against free people of Georgia. The regime calls us agents, but in truth, we are agents of freedom. They beat students on streets, spray tear gas into their face, detain schoolgirls for holding EU flags. Blackmail, censorship, and fear. These are communication tools of Ivanishvili regime. The regime claims that 21 police officers were injured during the protest. The State Security Service hired people who mingled with demonstrators and threw stones at police. Think this is just my words? No. This was stated by a high-ranking official from Ministry of Internal Affairs who resigned during this protest because police were not only using excessive force, but committing crimes. This man now is in exile because his statements and actions, his life and health was in danger. These are the communication tools of Ivanishvili regime against free people of Free Georgia. Today, Ivanishvili's regime holds more than 60 political prisoners. Among them are students, doctors, stand-up comedians, actors, and politicians. In one particular case, the regime accused a group of people of organizing mass violence, even though none of them had never met before their arrest. And one of them does not even speak Georgian. These are communication tools of Ivanishvili's regime against free people of Free Georgia. Among political prisoners is Mzia Maglobeli, the first female and first journalist political prisoner in Georgia. She is founder of the independent outlets Net Gazeti and Batumelebi. She was arrested twice in single night during protest in front of Batumi police building. The first time she was verbally assaulted and spat on by regime police officers, and then she was released shortly. But she stayed as a protest. Then she slapped a head of Batumi police, Iraklit Gebuadze, after he insulted her, and she was immediately rearrested. She is now facing criminal charge and potential prison sentence of 4 to 7 years. These are communication tools of Ivanishvili's regime against the free people of Free Georgia. Freedom to Mzia Maglobeli and all political prisoners, fire to oligarchy. You might now ask, okay, but what are you protesting? What are your communication tools in this crisis? We are protesting Ivanishvili's regime, the one that turned Georgia's pro-Western past toward Kremlin, stolen election, and established law-based autocracy. We have solidarity, we have truth, we are stubborn. These are our communication tools. Stubbornness is our communication tools. We are free people of Free Georgia and no one can change it. Right now, yesterday we were attending a beautiful event named Farah. But earlier this week, a completely different Farah was enacted in Georgia, one that originally created by Americans to counter Nazi Germany, but Ivanishvili's regime rewrote it and now uses it against the free people of Free Georgia. When I say that Ivanishvili regime established law-based autocracy, this is what I mean. After stolen 2024 parliamentary election, the new legislature passed laws that foreign agent laws, FARA, banning opposition parties, raised administrative fines to 5,000 gel or 60-day detention, banned masks on the protest, criminalized use of pyrotechnics, banned using lasers, prohibition of protests in closed buildings without owners' prior approval, and this is for students who study in state universities. Simplified recruitment of police officers, preventative detention by police on the assumption. The tightening of drug law, increased punishment for disobeying police, remove state security protections from former presidents, simplified the dismissal of public servants, required all NGOs to register as foreign agents, rejected journalists from using specific terms like regime, pro-Russian, illegal, and restriction for journalists to access parliament. And I maybe missed something, and I did. Just yesterday, they began to issue every citizen who will write, post in social media which they don't like. By the time I go back to Georgia, my TV channel might already have had its license revoked. The ruling party has already taken us to Communication Commission using a new law to go after us just because we call them regime. Of course we did, of course we do, of course we will. Because we, the free people of Free Georgia, refuse to obey law-based autocratic order. Since Ivanishvili came in power, free speech has been restricted and persecuted. The legal framework was soon changed to economically suffocate independent media. Since then, the regime has methodically continued to limit media freedom. Today, one critical station in Tavari has already shut down. My channel Formula and two others are awaiting verdicts under new censorship law. Online outlets, which relied mostly on Western grants, were left without funding because they refused to register in FAR and name themselves agents. Resistance, truth, freedom, and fighting for the Western future. These are the communication tools of the free people of Free Georgia against Ivanishvili's regime. Even though we, the free people of Free Georgia, have been in non-stop protest, you might wonder why has not movement grown large enough to topple the regime? The answer is simple: poverty and propaganda. These two are Ivanishvili's communication tools. Today, 672,000 people in Georgia are officially registered as socially vulnerable in a country of 3.7 million. 67% of all employed people work in public sector. 9% of citizens live below the absolute poverty line, and these are official figures from the regime's own statistic office. Ivanishvili regime has turned poverty into the tool of control. For most Georgian citizens, the main concern is how to find the food. These are the communication tools of Ivanishvili regime against the free people of Free Georgia. Propaganda is also a communication tool for the regime. 4 commercial TV channels and Georgian public broadcaster is the core of propaganda. Let me be clear, Georgia is not Russia. We were occupied by Russia. We were bombed by Russia, and 20% of our land is occupied by Russia. And yet, Ivanishvili regime is dragging us to Moscow. They attack opposition figures, censor books, censor media, blackmail families. This is not just illiberalism. This is state capture, and this is happening now. Ivanishvili's regime showed the true Russian face on the very first day of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Until then, it had been playing a balanced policy, but after February 24, 2022, it could no longer hide its nature. That day, I was in Ukraine, in Donbass, in Slaviansk. My main job is conflict reporting. It's been 1,199 days since then, and through all this time, Russia's communication tools against the free people of free Ukraine have been brutal violence and cynical lies, just like Ivanishvili's regime's tools against free people of free Georgia. Russia bombs, kills, abducts. Russia commits every war crime in Ukraine. That is their communication tool against the free people of free Ukraine. The free people of free Ukraine, like free people of free Georgia, respond with truth and stubbornness. The people of Ukraine are fighting for national survival. The people of Ukraine are fighting for a Western future. The people of Ukraine are fighting for the right to exist. This is battle, and in this battle, communication is survival. But not enough to speak. We must all be heard. Sometimes the world turns its back like it once did with Ukraine and with Georgia. Let me tell you something. When I covered Maidan Revolution, I watched people freeze on the barricades just for a dream, for dignity. When I reported from Ukraine during the full-scale war, I met children who grew up under shelling, women who feed entire village, and elders who refuse to leave their homes. This is resilience. That is communication, the language of defense, of survival. My most book is about Ukraine resilience, No Slaves in Heaven. That is the name of my book, and it perfectly captures this essence of struggle of free people of free Ukraine, the essence of our stubborn, fighting independent people's resistance. Sorry. In Georgia, we use our voices, our bodies, our silence, our art. We turn our fear to resistance. And we are not asking the world to save us. We are asking the world to see us, to listen us, to witness us, to remember. And since no slave in heaven, glory to free people of free Georgia and free Ukraine and their fight for freedom. Thank you.